Here we are for another No Driving Gloves. I apologize to everybody who's been enjoying our live stream, but every now and then we've got to do an interview and tape delay it. And that's what we're doing tonight. So won't be able there, or we won't be there to gosh, here I go again. I can't talk. We won't be able to answer any comments or stuff in the chat, but I hope you enjoy. It should be an interesting conversation tonight. We're going to be joined, of course, with Derek's going to hop on. And then we do have a special guest today. And his name's Scott Booker. He's the CMO and CPO, which I believe is Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Publicity Officer, I'm guessing. Product Officer, I'm sorry, with Copart. And as soon as we get done with the little intro song, I think we will start chatting. No Driving Gloves. We're a combination of gearheads. John, the instigator, Derek, the conservator, Will, the builder, Sean, the racer, and maybe a guest. Invite you to listen while they sit down, have a drink, and discuss cars. Subscribe to the podcast, No Driving Gloves. Time now for the ride. We'll get our F40 out of the way, and here we are. How's everybody doing? I'm going to say this afternoon now.
Very good, John. Thanks for having me on.
Well,
doing fantastic.
We appreciate you reaching out, and we've joked recently on the show about sponsorship. Copart reached out to us. This isn't, again, we don't take payment or anything. They're not paying us for this ad. We just really wanted to learn about Copart, and he's got a couple of special things to talk about. They're giving away a ton of money over the next couple of months, and we thought we would, again, as we did with Greg Stanley last week, and we advertised the Porsche watch he's giving away. We're going to tell you how to win a couple $1,000s, but it doesn't come out of our pockets. Sound good, Derek?
I like it. I love spending other people's money.
So how are, I guess, quickly, since I obviously said publicity officer instead of product officer, what's your exact role there at Copart, and how did you stumble across this job? Because a lot of us would love to stumble and do some of the, everybody wants Will's job. Everybody wanted my old job. Everybody wants Derek's job. I'm sure there's people out there with
Derek
love to have yours until you find out really what they are. So,
yeah, no. So I have sort of a deep two-sided marketplace in the internet background. So I go way back developing large-scale CRM solutions for hotels and casinos. I spent 10 years with Hotels.com running that business both in the U.S. and internationally. I've worked for various startups here in the last few years. And I was on the bench this time last year, and I got a call from a buddy. He said, hey, Jay Adair, the CEO of Copart, is looking for somebody like you with your skill set. And it's probably the best company you've never heard of. And I was like, oh, wow, that's some high praise. Let me go do some research. And so I did my research. Copart's obviously been super successful through the years. And the role that they were looking for was, one, on the marketing side, helping to attract and activate and retain buyers, members that come to our site and actually buy cars. Working with the sales team to help our sellers build this two-sided marketplace and improve that experience along the way. And also on the product side, just build a better website. And the interaction with both sellers and buyers, make that a much better experience. And so that's essentially what my role is. And I've got a relatively large team focused on marketing and product development to create that environment where people will sell and buy cars with us.
And I guess for our listeners that don't know, I would probably give too long of an explanation. Say in 15 seconds or less, what does Copart actually do? What is your business?
Yeah, so we sell millions and millions of cars every year through online auctions. We were the first player in the marketplace to actually move completely online, several years ago. And our primary sellers are insurance companies, lending institutions, rental car companies, fleet management. We consign those cars, so we don't actually buy them from them. We consign them. We put them up for auction. There's roughly 175,000 cars up for auction right now or on our blocks. And we sell those cars to the auction, and we try to match buyers with those sellers, and so that they get a good experience and buy a good car. We have buyers from all over the world. They could be, parts buyers, dismantlers. They could be, believe it or not, 40% of our transactions are happening from overseas buyers. So exporters buying cars, taking them overseas, rebuilding them, driving them, flipping them. And of course, consumers and other businesses that are buying cars from us.
Yeah, and you just said the key word there. You're not CarMax or Carvana or something with an online. You're actually, a lot of your product inventory. There is some perfectly good drivable things. I was looking around yesterday for RVs on your site, and it was you've got a really nice one coming up that just has some hail damage. But right. A lot of what's on your site are actually damaged vehicles. From kind of complete loss where you're just going to buy it and take the 12 good parts off of it to I was talking with one of our co-hosts, Sean, who's occasionally sits in, and he was out in Colorado talking to a body shop, and everything they drive, they've bought through you, and they have perfectly good driving hail damage cars that they only paid a couple $100 for. And so you're not a discount place, but you're buyer beware, but you offer some pretty good deals, it looks like, at times.
Yeah. What's happening in the industry too is our biggest sellers are insurance companies. And so if you think about the cars of today, they've got so much technology in them that when an accident occurs, if it's going to cost them more to fix it rather than, sell it to the auction, then you're going to look at that equation and say, hey, what's the best way for us to do this? And because there's so much technology in cars today that are harder to fix, the equation kind of shifts towards let's total it and move it through, a Copart. So there's perfectly good cars coming through, with some damage from the insurance sellers that people can get good deals on and fix them up and flip on. Then if you look at some of our other sellers, dealers are putting cars on the market or on the auctions. We've got lending institutions and rental car companies. Those are cars, in many cases, very drivable right off the blocks. And, we continue to grow our base of drivable cars as we expand and grow this business. And that'll continue to be a big part of what we do going forward.
Yeah, when I was poking around just yesterday, I was amazed at the actual number of, great cars that you had that seem to be, they're totaled. A lot of them are because of hail damage, and hail's a significant thing. But I can't remember, 10 or 15 years ago, my brother had a Subaru WRX, and it had severe hail damage, and he had the choice of getting it totaled, taking insurance money or whatever. And I kind of said, if it's not that important, take the insurance money, pay the car off. And that's put him in a great financial situation because he drove a hail damaged car for a couple of years. And if I'm going to buy something for $2,000 that normally retails for 14, I can probably live with some hail damage and such. And you offer, everything. I was looking at a Class A Ram ProMaster that I think retailed for $90,000. It's not up for auction quite yet. And then there's, Ford Focuses. And yesterday you had 10 McLarens on your site. So you literally have, the gambit from $20,000 cars to $300,000 or $400,000 cars. Is that not right?
Yeah, no, that's totally right. And, I've traveled a lot this past year. I was living in Denver. I was traveling back and forth to Dallas where we're headquartered. And I can't tell you the number of times even an Uber driver said, oh, you work for Copart? Because he was dropping me off at the building and saw the sign. And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, man, they're awesome. There's so many cars there to choose from. How do you, figure out what to put up for sale and so forth? So there is a very large variety. And it's not just cars. We have motorcycles. We have power sports, boats, RVs. and it runs the gamut. Classic cars, even, I think about what you might find on an eBay. Not all those cars are perfect cars. People are looking for, a good bargain that they feel like they can fix. And we have certainly a lot of those cars as well. So we do have quite a bit of variety.
You sent me a link, I think, or somebody from Copart sent me a link as we were arranging this interview for a Model A that was on the site. The description was a little embellishing, as Derek pointed out, but I never would have thought to look at Copart for a Model A. I would have never thought to look at Copart for an RV until I was on there yesterday, and I go, I wonder if they would have a travel trailer or something, and I could pick it up for $2,000 instead of $14,000, or even $7,000 instead of $14,000. That's a deal. And sure enough, I think you had 3,000 different types of recreational vehicles, from Prevos to small trailers to utility trailers to, like you said, side by sides and four wheelers. So,
yeah, it's we have 200 locations in 11 countries where we're housing these vehicles, mostly around big urban cities. As you might expect, an accident occurs, or a lease completes, and we're picking up a car. We'll bring it to it's really a large parking lot. We call them lots, call them yards. And they sit there. We get the title information, and then within just a few weeks, we're ready to put them up for auction. And that's the beauty of what our technology provides, is that you can be sitting in Dallas, Texas, and bidding on cars all over the country. And these guys that are exporters, we have a large base of exporters buying from Eastern Europe and Africa, really, all over. Lots of South America. They can bid on cars all over and then have them shipped to their location. So you can kill a lot of time on the site looking for cool cars, for sure.
If we're going to kill a little bit of time on the site looking for cool cars and that, do we have to be a body shop? Do we have to be an exporter? Can I come to your site and, just like eBay, register and bid on something?
Yeah, and it really depends on the state regulations. The states regulate this type of auto auction industry. And so in many states, you as a consumer can come in and bid and buy just like you would any other site. There are some states that require you to have a broker. And we have several broker partners that will walk you through the process, do all the paperwork for you, and make sure that you're in compliance with all the state regulatory rules. And, hopefully we make it as simple as possible for you to do that. So it's in some states, it's one extra step, but we hopefully make it easy enough for you to connect with a broker to make that work.
Yeah, and I guess the warning is, a lot of your rebuilds that you have, be sure to know what the rebuild title in your state is and what it takes. Because I know in Alabama, you have to go through a certification process to be able to relicense a rebuilt title, and it has to be done by a body shop. Now, a lot of us are car guys and we know a body shop and that, but if you don't have friends in the right places, do your research before you get on the site. And you've got 3 membership levels, you buy your membership level and buy a car. I'd hate for you to listen to us here today and then buy a car and find out, oh no, I can't do anything with it, especially after you do some repair work. So again, we're not telling you all, we're just telling listeners what's out there.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got a big member services team too that you can chat with online, or you can call in. If you're running into challenges from that standpoint, they've dealt with all these states. We do it on a regular basis, trying to get titles and clean up paperwork before we send it up for sale and all that kind of stuff. So we got a great team to help from that standpoint.
That's always the worst part about buying a car, the paperwork, buying and selling. Yeah. If we could get rid of the paperwork part.
Well, it's like, I think the pandemic actually sped some of this up. It's not quite where it needs to be, but several states, even in the last 12 months, have now adopted the ability to do a lot of this paperwork via online and through the internet rather than paper trails. But we're still not quite there yet. We were hoping that all the states will adopt that over time. We're taking baby steps, though.
Yeah, I'll say between Virginia and Alabama, it's amazing the difference to the DMV. And this is one time I'll actually say Virginia was ahead of Alabama in that. But it's gotten better. And I've also learned how to manipulate the DMV, so I know where to go to not have to stand in line for 3 hours.
That helps.
Derek, you've been very quiet. Do you have any Copart questions before we jump into the real reason?
Well, you've been asking all the questions, so
okay. I'm sorry.
No, I found it interesting. Obviously, I was doing a little research and all that, and of course, now I'm also trying to find what classic cars you have on here while we're trying to do this interview. So that's my fault. But no, I found it interesting. I was reading up on the history of the company and started out as basically a junkyard and really had a creative idea to turn into what it is today. So I found that really interesting. I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that, and I forgive me, I'm forgetting the gentleman's name who started the company now. But pardon me. Just a little bit of that kind of, I know, while I was reading it, talking about that entrepreneurial spirit that the company has and kind of always being, looking for something new, like moving to a complete online setup. So just talk a little bit about that. I found it interesting.
Yeah, no, the company was founded in 1982 by a gentleman called Willis Johnson. He's actually still our chairman, so he's involved with the business. We see him from time to time as he comes through the office for board meetings and so forth. And he was born and raised in Oklahoma, went to Vietnam, and when he came back, he settled in Northern California and started this business. And shortly into his tenure there, he hired his future son-in-law, Jay, who's now the CEO. And together, it's almost like a classic roll-up strategy. There were all these companies kind of regionally oriented throughout the U.S. that were doing this kind of business, and it's an essential business. In fact, even during the pandemic, we were deemed an essential business because of our support of getting these cars that potentially were damaged to the point where they couldn't be driven. We got them off the roads and put them into our lots or yards, if you will, and it got them ready for sale and so forth. So, it's a classic roll-up strategy. We just kind of over time acquired more and more of these businesses since we had most of the U.S. covered, actually all of the U.S. covered. And now we've expanded into Canada. We've got operations in the UK, Germany, Finland, Brazil, Spain, working the same kind of model going forward. And it's been a really amazing story. If you go back and look at some of the financial history of this company and how it's grown from where it started. And I think the big thing is they've been willing to do things differently or challenge the status quo. If you remember in the old auction days, and some companies are still in that mode, you pretty much called on buyers from your particular regional area. And that was pretty much it. You had to go in person to see it. And, you go through a traditional auction process with an auctioneer and all that stuff. And I believe the story is that Jay went to Willis and said, look, we can put this all online. And, that was over 15 years ago when we did that. So, and that allowed us to really open up our auctions to anybody, anywhere, to come in and bid on cars and buy them. So it's been a tremendous success story. I think there's a huge amount of growth still ahead of us. We're going to continue to do really well with the business we do today. We feel really strongly about being good partners with our sellers, particularly on the insurance side, and we're growing even faster in lending institutions and rental car companies and fleet companies and so forth. And that's what's getting us into more and more drivable cars, clean title cars. And so I like where we sit. We got a good opportunity ahead of us.
Very cool. Very cool. So now, John, I don't know if I get off track, just kind of smack me or something and put me back on track. But in kind of talking before the show and learning a little bit about you, we know there's some car interest in your background. And so, number one, I'd say, tell us a little bit about that and if that played a role in kind of where you are now. But also, I guess I'm curious, has there been anything that you guys have sold on the online auctions that you've seen come up and kind of gone, well, that's a pretty cool car, and thought about bidding on it, or maybe you've actually bought one. I don't know. Is there anything like that that's happened?
Yeah. So unfortunately, us employees can't bid on cars at Copart. We don't want to affect the integrity of the auction. It's super important for us to keep that in an honest and integral and have high integrity with that process. So, but almost weekly, I'm seeing cars come across and I'm like, oh man, that's a good car. Yeah, so a little bit of my history. So my dad had a 57 Chevy when I was growing up, and he would drive me to school every morning and pick me up in the afternoons. He worked at midnight shift, so he would come home from the midnight shift and drive us to school, and then sleep during the day, and he'd pick us up in the afternoon. And so I got to ride in that cool car from a very young age. And that sort of, the shapes and curves of those old cars back then, it just enamors me. I would call myself more of a car admirer more than anything, because I just love the design and the architecture of some of these cars. And then I just fast forward, I lived in England for about 5 years. We moved the world headquarters of hotels.com to London. And so I was there from 2009 to 2014. And we lived right around the corner from the McLaren headquarters. And so my two boys, who were in kind of grade school, middle school time period, they'd get on a bus and they would drive by McLaren every day and see McLarens. And they just they were super into it. And then the village where they went to school, there was a Ferrari dealership. And so they saw all these cool cars every day. And both of them have just really, caught the bug. The oldest one went to school in Indianapolis was working on a mechanical engineering technology degree. Now he's decided all I want to do is work on cars. So right now he's working on he works for a company called Waldrick Restoration. I think it's the only Hudson restoration shop in the country now. And all they work on is old Hudsons. So super cool shop. And the youngest is sort of in the same vein. He's not going to get into the actual industry, I don't think. He starts college in the fall. He wants to be a pilot, but he's still, literally every other day will send me a car. Hey, Dad, we should buy this one. So it's an ongoing thing with us. You may not be able to tell, but I don't know if I'll go the right direction, but I've got 3 Lego cars, a Lamborghini, a Porsche on the bottom, a Bugatti in the middle. My kids, create they get the most expensive, hardest Lego car creations and create them for me. So yeah, I call myself more of a car admirer, and it's a family thing now. We last 2 summers ago, when my oldest graduated from high school, his summer trip, he wanted to go visit factories. So we went to Mercedes and Porsche and BMW, and we went to Pagani, Ferrari, and several others. So it was a great trip. It's just kind of in our blood now. And that's when this role came up, and it was the kind of role that it is. That was a big factor for me.
So anything in the stable right now that's kind of your collector car or your fun toy, not your daily driver?
No, I'm kind of in between right now, deciding on what I want to do next. I'm one of those where I'm always watching and trying to figure out what I want to do on that front. I haven't pulled the trigger lately on that one. So we were in the process of moving, so that's been an issue. I was in Denver for a while, and literally just drove the rest of our stuff down this past weekend. So now I'm trying to think about what's next for us on that front.
Come on, John, you got to have something.
Well, I want to go ahead and kind of the whole reason Scott's here is to talk about this little event that I think we're in the 3rd year of for Copart. Is that not right? Or is this the 4th year?
It's actually the 8th year. We've been running it quite a while. Yeah.
I didn't even see that on the website. You only had a few years back. So 8 years of this. It's kind of a cool promotion. Do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about the rebuild challenge there that Copart offers?
Yeah. So, like I said, this is a program that we've had up and running for about 8 years. We do it in the summertime. Sort of kicks off now. Actually, the contest officially kicks off tomorrow, where entries will be open for submission. But essentially, it's a photo contest where you can submit your 3 photos before you rebuild, of a car you've purchased and started to build on, and 3 after photos, after rebuild photos. And it's a contest that we will then judge over the course of the summer. The specific dates of that, the entries open tomorrow, the 8th. They go through the 27th of August, so you can continue to submit up until the August 27th date. Then we'll start voting on 9 or September 20th. There's the dates there. And the voting ends October 15th, and we'll announce the winners on October 28th. And essentially, if you're voted the first, the winner and first prize, you'll get $5,000. Second prize will get $2,000, and the third prize will get $1,000. So it's a very, very cool contest. It's open to U.S., Canada, Mexico, and we love cars. This is a way for us to get our name out there a little bit, have fun with it, allow our members. We got a lot of members that are buying cars and rebuilding with us, and give them something to have fun with. And you can see some of the cool cars that came in over the past few years. It's a real fun promotion for us.
So you said it's been going for about 8 years. Mm-hmm. Do you recall, did anybody, any of the entries that you remember, did they buy the car through Copart and then build it and submit the entry? Yeah,
absolutely. So we don't require it to be bought through Copart. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this promotion if we weren't super ecstatic if you did buy it through Copart. That's even a better story for us to tell. So we'd love for you to buy a car from Copart and actually to use that as your rebuild, but it's not required. And I think many of the ones from the years past have come from Copart.
Very cool. So what is, and we saw some of the, previous winners, honorable mentions, things like that. I just noticed as John was scrolling, has there been any of the winners in the past few years that have really stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this this morning or this afternoon. I was talking to the team about it. There was a couple years ago, it's like probably 2019. There was a '69 black Chevy Chevelle that was super cool. They did a really nice job of restoring that car. We've had some tricked up. There was one on there. There was a tricked up Toyota pickup, I think, that they had really built out and made it more of a desert truck. That was kind of cool the way they did it. And he actually did a really good job videoing everything he had done. And we've had some tricked out Subaru Outbacks. I mean, we get the gamut. I mean, there was a very cool VW bus that you just passed through a few minutes ago. It's, again, as a car admirer, it's always fun to see cool stuff like that.
And you can go through the website for those that are actually listening to the audio podcast, copart.com/rebuild. All the terms and conditions, the rules, the dates, everything is there. It's kind of a cool contest. I thought you actually had to buy the car through Copart. It's kind of interesting that you do open it up to everybody, but I don't know. I've been to a couple of the other auctions. We won't mention any of their names in person. And while I don't get to see your stuff, I'm much prefer buying things online and having this, you said, almost 200,000 car selection every day, as opposed to just the couple of hundred that are at my local salvage auction, every Thursday or Tuesday, or depending which day you go. So.
Yeah, no, it's really amazing that we have as much inventory as we do. And, we hopefully have provided and will continue to improve the experience here, but all the searching and filtering capability you need to be finding your car and create yourself, alerts so that when cars are coming through that you're interested in, a watch list, you can create a watch list. And if something comes through that you're interested in, you can get involved and start bidding. So we hope that's what people do.
I'm drawing a blank.
You drew a breath, so I didn't want to interrupt there, John. So
I'm letting you go now, Derek.
Oh, this is how we work, Scott. It's really awkward. Don't worry about it. We like to make the guests.
this is what people begged for in the live stream, is to see these awkward pauses that I can edit out of the audio.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, you talked about your Lego collection of cars. I just always like that. Years ago, probably, I think in 1999, I started, instead of going out on New Year's Eve and drinking and partying and all of that, and that would have put me back in my late 20s. I instead got a Lego kit for Christmas. It was a Ferrari F1 car. And now every year for New Year's, instead of going out, I put together kind of the cool Lego kit, whether it be the Porsche, the Mini, the Caterham, just whatever the Lego kit is. Or a couple of years it's been Mega Blocks, where I put together a space shuttle. That one took me, I think, 18 continuous hours. So it went well into New Year's.
The oldest son is like very mechanically inclined, as I'd mentioned, and obviously super into cars. And Lego has just done such an amazing job recreating the models of these super hypercars, if you will. And he got started on this, must have been almost 10 years ago now, when the first few of those that came out. And like you said, that's really what his big thing for Christmas is, like, give me this is all I want, the most expensive car Lego that they have. Let me buy it, and let me just spend 2-3 days building it out. And that's what he does. And it's really amazing to see. He just gets locked in on it. It's almost like has maybe a slight autism or something. He just gets so locked in, and he won't move away from that position until he's done with it. So usually it takes him 12, 18 hours and he's done with it. So it's super cool to watch, and obviously been involved with it too, helping him out from time to time. And what they turn out to be is amazing. And so I'm very lucky that he was, gave them to me to put in the office.
And the Lego, there's a good and a bad. They are so detailed, and I think the Ferrari F1 car for me has the pistons moving the engine and is tied to the wheels and all kinds of stuff like this, and steering linkages, and then of course you can get into the fully automated things and that. But they cheat. It's not Legos like from when I was 8 years old, when they were square blocks. I mean, when you're custom molding, I guarantee you the fenders on my Ford GT Lego aren't going to fit anything else, really.
No, that's true. That's true. Like when we were kids, there were no instruction manuals. You had to create your own, like come up with your own creativity and design and architecture, which is fine. But just some of the creations you can do now, it's just incredible. And so they're fun.
So what is what is the chances that the next Lego build might be a 2019 ZR1 Corvette? Just throwing it out there,
It could be. I haven't actually been on the Lego site recently to see what news, something new that's come out. So I have to go back and see what he's most interested in this year. But and that would be up there as an option for sure.
I was thinking maybe you should move them into, I think it's the Porsche model kits. They're expensive, but they're so detailed. And, I went one year, I actually interrupted my Legos and did a Renault F1 car that was an erector set, which again, erector cheated there with some custom molded pieces and that. But it was kind of neat to go back to the old erector sets of the day too and play there. You said you were in between cars before we talked about the Copart Rebuild Challenge contest. Was there one before, or?
Not so much like a collector car. My dad's had cars, so I've kind of worked with him on those things. Like his 57 is sort of my, the one that I always harken back to. I've right now I'm driving. I've got an M340i BMW, I've got my eye on a couple of cars that I think will be part of my collection going forward, and just trying to get through the move, and then decide how to make a move there.
I was kind of wondering if a BMW had played into your life, seeing the artwork behind you there on the wall. Figured you might be a BMW fan. So yeah, that very cool car. Very nice to have that BMW in there. What was I? Oh yeah. So and maybe John, we don't want to jump to this yet. So again, if I'm going too soon or going somewhere not where we want to go right now, go ahead and stop the conversation. But I guess with Copart's kind of the direction they've headed and kind of the incredible auction site they've built and the work they're doing. I mean, are there exciting things we should be looking forward to coming up in the future with Copart? I mean, I dig the fact that you guys do this rebuild challenge. I mean, it gets, because one of the things, John, myself, the whole, host crew here on No Driving Gloves, we're big into the youth getting involved. And I think this is a cool way to get some youth involved. So you guys seem to be a inventive company, do things that get the hobby going and keep that love of the automobile pushing forward. So, and maybe you can't talk about things, but we all know how that is. But are there some exciting things coming up that you guys are going to be doing to kind of keep that car passion going forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that we do currently that we'll continue to do, and then I can explain some of the things that are coming down the pipe. When I started off the conversation, I said that I didn't know a lot about Copart other than what my friend had told me about, and I had to go do my research. Well, in that process, to talk about how to get the younger generation involved, I went to my kids. I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of this company called Copart? I've done a search on them. And when I do a search on Google, I see, influencers coming up that are on YouTube talking about them. And both of my kids, now in their upper teens, one's 21, one's 19, both of them said, you should go look at some of the videos on YouTube. There's all kinds of people buying cars from them and fixing them up. So we have a relationship with several influencers that are buying cars from us, fixing them up, and showcasing that on various social media sites. And we'll continue to do that. That's part of our investing in education about how easy it is to buy a car from us and do a rebuild, and trying to get it out on channels that really attract and appeal to that younger generation. And so I think that's something that's always going to be a part of what we do. In terms of where Copart's headed and where we're going, the site, we just did a release of the site, an upgrade to the overall look and feel. That went out about 2 weeks ago. And that is just the start of many more updates to enhance the user experience on the site, to make it easier to find, all kinds of cars that you're interested in. Our kind of aspiration is to be as easy as Amazon or any of the well-known e-commerce websites, so that you can find what you're looking for and get what you need. And then, honestly, it's all about getting more supply, more cars. And so, as we work, going forward, we're working with our sellers on the insurance side. We're getting more and more inventory from that perspective. And I honestly, when the economy starts bouncing back, more people are driving. So we're getting more inventory from those guys, but also expanding into more whole cars, more clean title cars through some of our other sellers. So that is a big part of what we're up to from building that out. And, that'll all come through the online auctions, and you'll be able to get access to a lot of great cars coming forward.
I'll say the new Copart site that I played with over the last couple of days compared to the last time I was on is probably I guess it was a year and a half ago, because I was looking for a certain car, and a buddy actually bought one off a Copart site and drove from here to Colorado to pick it up. I'm fully expecting to have to get a trailer or something to bring it back, and he ended up driving it back, and he's got it for sale now as a whole car, where he was originally going to cut it up and make it some sort of beach dune buggy type car. I'm trying to think of all I can think of is the Dodge Aspen wagons on Fantasy Island with the safari tops and things.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really dating myself, and I'm sorry for all of our listeners born after 1980. Derek might even not even know what I'm talking about, but it, the your site was extremely easy to use. I mean, of course, I found myself, I want to click this description and find more, but there's only so much you can do with. But it was, it's a much improved site. It's really enjoyable. It's not frustrating to use, and that'll keep me off of experimenting with anything.
I mean, we've the real challenge for my position here is on the product side. We've got some real power buyers that are buying, hundreds of cars a year, and they have a certain way of using the site. Almost in a, they'll have multiple screens up with multiple. You can have, as many auctions open as you want, and you're watching cars come through, going through the auction, people bidding from all over the world and so forth. And they like this hard to explain, but kind of a spreadsheet-like model of looking at all the cars that they're interested in. And so our challenge is, don't mess up the experience too much for our power buyers, but add functionality that appeals to the younger generation, even my generation for that matter, that are used to now great website experiences on Amazon and Walmart and all the main e-commerce sites that you use on a regular basis today. So that's essentially the kind of mantra I've given to the team is let's not get in the way of the power buyers. We want them to continue to do what they do. They're great customers of ours, and we want to make them happy. But also, we're also appealing to newer generations that have a certain way of looking at e-commerce sites. So let's make sure we add that functionality. So you'll see more and more of that progress throughout the year, and hopefully make it as easy as possible to buy lots of cars.
And that's always the challenge with anything is the human nature resistance to change. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last car, and there was, Derek sees it with, we should have never made the Corvette mid-engine. It should be front engine. And we've had guests on that make a case for it. Or I think back to Ford when they introduced kind of the aerodynamic F-150 in 96, 97-ish, and they still sold the classic body style alongside of it for a year or two, just to soften the blow for their traditional buyers.
Right.
And I'm just as guilty. I hate change. I hate I hate waking up to go to do something on Microsoft Word or something and it updated overnight, and now it takes me 3 hours to learn how to use it when it should have been a 15-minute task. And sometimes I fear, and I think I'm due for like 6 updates on my iPhone because I just, I'm afraid of what the next thing will bring. So I understand. I think we all understand your challenges there.
Yeah, and it's so website design has been something that I've been pretty close to for most of my career, and I got into a pretty heavy test and learn, A/B testing kind of mentality at Hotels.com, because every basis point of conversion we could gain on that site was about $1 million worth of profit. And so every year, my goal as head of product and then president of the company was to try to increase our conversion so that it would make our marketing dollars more efficient. And so, and I can't tell you the number of times I would come back to the team and say, no, this is the way to do it. This is the way, you just choose this one. And I'd be so wrong, because the ultimate vote is in the click of the consumer, the user of that site. And you just don't know until you get it out there and test it. So we're big believers in A/B testing. We're always testing something on the site to make sure that it is something that consumers are going to use and actually makes an easier experience for them to actually convert. So we'll continue to do that. And obviously, it's a big part of it is just listening to buyers. What do you like? What do you don't like? Where are the gaps? How can we improve? And we've got we'll always have a long list of things to be working on. We try to pick the ones that are most impactful and gives the most efficacy to our buyers.
I'm going to go back to the personal questions. Derek took us off. We kind of meander, but that's the way we always go. And I'm going to steal from good old Mark Green with the Cars Yeah podcast. We still hope to have Mark on the show at some point. Derek's been a guest on his show. But since you have your list of classic cars you want, and you really don't have any to draw from on the past, if you could have one collector car, and it's your only collector car, you can't ever sell it, and you can't have another one. Money's no object. Money's no object. What would it be?
Such a hard question. There's so many good ones. Look, I'm there's something about that 57 that is has part of my heartstring. And the little backstory on that, my dad, I have three sisters, two that are younger, and when my parents had the fourth child, they just couldn't afford to have that car. He ended up selling it for a family vehicle. And he kicks himself every single day that he did that, and he did the right thing from, father, family man, and so forth. But, that would be one that would be high on my list. I'm also a big fan of the 69 Camaros, just a nice body style. The hypercars are very interesting to me. I love the Aston Martins, having lived in England and big James Bond fan, going all the way back to the very beginning, the early Aston Martins that were on the show. They're just so classic and really cool cars. And, I've always been, since we did that factory tour, I was blown away by, just the differences of how cars are made. So if you go to a Porsche or let's say Mercedes or Audi, it's probably 90% robotics that are building that car. And then you go down to the other spectrum to a Pagani, there are no robotics. That's all handmade. And then you got things in between with, Porsche, BMW, and Ferrari, and so forth, Lamborghini. And I just totally fascinated by the way some of those cars are made. But in that regard, like I love the Porsches. This new Porsche GT3 is like, it's nice. It's a nice one. That one's kind of up there. Those are the big ones that are sort of on my list.
Okay, so you narrowed it down to 5. I'll give you a minute to think. I'll give you a minute to think about the number one, what you're going to pick out of that 5. But my family has a very similar story to yours. When my brother, who's 5 years younger than me, was going to be born in the late 70s, my parents went and they traded their 70 Charger and their 69 Chevelle SS on a Dodge Aspen SE station wagon, tan interior, green with wood grain, and they actually put cash in with the deal.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, things if we could do over again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think we would have suffered with the car seats and, because I would think, well, 5 or 6 years later, we were a family of 4 living with a Dodge Rampage. So
yeah.
We would cram 4 people into this Dodge Rampage.
Yeah.
Before seatbelt laws.
I'm sure you feel the same way. It's hard to fault, your parents for making a decision like that. They put the family first, but boy, hindsight is 2020 in that regard. And it's a hard one. So I'd probably actually say if I had, endless amounts of money and I was saying you can only do one car, I might pick that 57 just because there's such a sentimental aspect to it, and it meant so much to my dad.
That's my situation with my 60. I've got a 62 Chrysler Newport with 17,000 miles on it that was bought new by my great grandfather, and it's been handed down, each generation, and now it's in my possession. And part of me wants to sell it because I don't do anything with it, but there's that little bit of heartstrings that, makes it worth the $1,500 a year it costs to store it.
Yeah.
So, I think everybody understands that being sentimental about a car. And of course, Derek's got this massive barn and more cars than he knows what to do with. And one's pictured behind him there.
Yeah, but I guess the shame of it is really there's no cars that are terribly sentimentally attached. My parents and my family all pretty much trade cars in all the time and get different ones. So, we don't really have. I mean, the 37 Ford is probably the only thing. I mean, my dad has had since the early 70s, and
Longer than
it's
you.
longer than me, and we still don't have it restored. It's still sitting in store in a garage waiting to be restored.
Yeah.
My dad's 64 and a half Mustang, he started the restoration in 1979. It's still in pieces.
Still in restoration. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens.
I'm kind of a perfectionist in that regard, though. That would drive me nuts. Like, just get it over with,
Well, they're all out of sight, out of mind type deals now.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm getting kind of veering off topic here, probably of what we're on right now, but kind of staying in the same path. I was just doing more digging. I'm really impressed with the amount of classic cars that are on Copart. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that many. And once I finally figured out kind of how to find them in a good way, it's a lot, and it is a good. I mean, it appears to be a really great place to find a restoration project. If somebody's looking for one, because there were some really cool cars there.
What stood out to you, Derek?
Well, there's obviously some Model Ts, some early pre-war Chevys on there, but there were some pretty cool 50s era Pontiacs, and actually I was just looking at a really nice Firebird convertible. Didn't quite get to be able to read what was wrong with it. It looks visually, it appears okay, other than it looks like maybe the convertible top got tweaked going down or something, but there's some really cool stuff on there. I mean, if you're looking for, heck, if I was looking for a Model T, I'd keep my eye on a few of those, because there's some Model Ts on there that just need a little bit of work to get back on the road.
Yeah, I hadn't realized how many classic cars we had. It may have been 5 or 6 months ago. Jay, the CEO, came over and he said, we've got a good amount of classic cars on the site. Why don't we try to put some, more muscle behind it from a marketing perspective? So it is something that we'll try to, surface a bit better as we go forward. We've done some things to let our members know, hey, this is out there. But we got more to do on that front. But yeah, there's some good cars out there. And if you, keep your eye on it, that's the great thing, is like, we're always getting new inventory coming through. Excuse me. And so it always helps to have a watch list. Vehicle alerts set up on the site so you can be looking out for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I guess it's it's something you kind of have to think about when you're a collector of cars and in the hobby and doing this. Is we don't like to think about it, and we don't like to see it happen, but if you're driving these cars, there's a chance they're going to get in an accident or they're going to get damaged, and there's going to be an insurance claim on them, and sometimes they're going to get basically bought by the insurance company, and they're going to have to liquidate those somewhere, and this is a place they do that. And so it only makes sense to keep an eye out on the website, on the auctions, to see if they're coming up. And I guess to me, it's always those little things we don't think about. It's that, because number one, like I say, you don't want to think about it, especially if you own collector cars. You don't want to think about, I could get in a wreck one day and it could be totaled, or I could get in a wreck one day and it could be damaged beyond my capabilities of repair, and I'm just going to take the check and go. But yeah, it's those little things where if people are out there going, well, where do I find a car? Where do I buy a car I could work on? That's the cool thing about a site like this, is here it is. It's not eBay, where it's either a restored car they're asking way too much money for, or you don't have the money for it, or it's a barn find that is just not even a good, quality barn find. It's something that's rusted to pieces. I even saw a couple early Corvettes on there, first generation Corvettes, which would be fantastic purchases to repair and have yourself an early Corvette. That's incredible. So yeah, I've been blown away. Sorry, I've been looking at it probably more than I should been.
Good. Well, I hope we get a chance to buy one. But we're even the supercars, the hypercars have so much carbon fiber in there. We've had cars that those kinds of cars that have had an accident, and it could be a front quarter panel, side, but because it has so much carbon fiber, it has been totaled. That's fixable. It's not cheap, but instead of buying a brand new one, it's certainly doable. So that's what's cool. Again, we have tons of inventory, and you just got to be on top of it, looking for it.
Yeah, I had noticed on your website that this Alpha 4C, that that's a carbon tub and everything else, and it just obviously it was part of one of the rebuild challenges, but it really stood out to me as well. I never really thought about that. I mean, I don't know the precondition before this photograph. I don't know, if it was a theft recovery or what caused it to go through Copart, if it did. But it was, interesting that way. And then, of course, the VW, I can't think. It's not a bay window. What do they call them? Flat windshields or whatever. I mean, it's not a 23 or a 28 window bus, but hey, I would have never thought of going to Copart for that either.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree.
We're getting close to the end, but there's one question that I got to ask about Copart.
Okay.
And it goes back to the eBay thing, and you can go Barrett Jackson or Mecum thing. Are there reserves?
On some cars, the sellers will set a reserve price that has to be met, but not all. And so from time to time, you have that on some of those, but and there is a chance that the seller could waive it if they decide to, similar to other auctions. But I'd say the vast majority. I'd have to go check this, but I don't think it's on the majority. That's a good question. I don't think it's on the majority. I would say there are some, but not all.
Well, I ask because I've seen some of the hypercars go for next to nothing, and I assume those transactions concluded. I didn't see them conclude. I just know what the final bids were, and I didn't see anything that alluded to reserves on any of the stuff I was looking at. But I think probably because it's corporations and insurance companies, their goal is just to get rid of it and unload it. So
yeah, at the highest price that they can get, right? And we have a very, very liquid auction with businesses and consumers and exporters that drive the price up. So in most cases, these sellers are super happy with what they're getting from our auction. So that tends to be kind of how it works with those guys.
Yeah, and I was just thumbing through some, and some of them do have a reserve not met listing. I see it at the bidding spot, but what I like is that you can also do the buy it now price, and there's a lot of the cars have a buy it now, so you don't even have to think, oh, what am I going to have to spend on this to get it? Just buy it now and I mean, some of these buy it now prices are cheap for what the car is. So that's
an example out there, Derek. I mean, it's public knowledge.
I just clicked off of a bunch of them. Come on. Why'd you have to do that? Hang on.
Well, why Derek's looking
Play
for that.
some stalling music or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, while Derek's doing that, I'll just go ahead and remind everybody on No Driving Gloves to check out the website, nodrivinggloves.com. We've actually got a little bit of a survey going on right there. We're toying with the idea of doing like a 3-minute daily podcast with some automobile trivia in that. And I'm having trouble deciding, does it go in your subscription feed where you get the show, or would you prefer me to make that a separate feed so you could choose, do you want to listen to us every day or just once a week? I know we're exciting people, but even my girlfriend wants me to go away a lot of the time. So, and then go ahead and support the show, of course, at nodrivinggloves.com /coffee. Buy us a cup of coffee there. Did you have anything? Give us another real quick recap while Derek's looking up that price, Scott, of the rebuild challenge that you guys are doing.
Yeah. So photo contest on your awesome rebuilds that you've done. 3 photos beforehand, 3 photos after your rebuild. You can go on to copart.com/rebuild, get all the information, terms, conditions, and everything. Submissions can start tomorrow, July 8th, and they close August 27th. And then we'll obviously do about a month of voting. Winners will be announced on October 28th. And first prize can win $5,000, second prize $2,000, and third prize $1,000. So super cool contest, and we're excited to see what people have done.
Did you find something, Derek, or are we going to leave the listeners hanging?
I can't find anything again. I can't remember what the one that I saw was. I'm horrible. But no, there were some really cool cars that I thought, hey, okay, here's one. Let's open it up and see. So 62 Chevy Corvair. Okay, pretty cool car. I mean, I don't mind the Corvairs. I'd love to have a daily driver Corvair. Granted, it's the sedan, so it's a 4-door. Primary damage, dents, minor dents and scratches. And, it looks like there's maybe some paint peeling in some areas.
Did you just lock up?
Nope. I'm trying to see what all information there is on it.
Well, just what are they asking for it?
But buy it now, price of $1,500.
Now that's a restoration project, easy. And
I mean that's great to get it, and it's a good bone start and go from there. It looks like maybe some of the engine components are torn off of it. Like generators, stuff like that. But I mean, for $1,500, how can you go wrong?
That's what I mean. You've got a lot of upside in that car. You're going to have to do a lot before you're really upside down. I mean, you always go upside down in a restoration.
Always.
Unless it's a Duesenberg. But
no, you still go upside down.
Well, again, I'm going to thank Scott for joining us and Copart for reaching out to tell us about this contest. I'm kind of excited to at least explore the site. I don't know if I can have something done here in 2 months. I don't work that fast on anything. Just ask some of our listeners about the podcast. But we are glad to have you. It's been enjoyable chatting with you. And anything else from anybody, or I'm going to wrap it up.
No, Scott, appreciate it. Been interesting, and heck, I even learned a lot about it. So thanks for coming on.
Cool. I really enjoyed the conversation, and it's good to chat with you guys, and looking forward to seeing what comes out of this challenge.
Yep. Thank you again, and we're out of here. Thank you for listening, and remember to look us up at nodrivinggloves.com. There you can find back episodes, links to products we recommend, and links to all of our social media. Be sure to tell a friend about us.